Welcome everyone. This is Dr. Ashok Tahilyani from Ireland, and I'm very delighted to have Dr. Makkar with me, who's very renowned in his field of diabetes and endocrinology. And we are very pleased to have Dr. Makkar, and welcome, Dr. Makkar.
Thank you.
Dr.
Pleasure.
Makkar is president for many national and international societies, and I would like to ask a few questions regarding early intervention and management in obesity. Could you enlighten us with your when should we intervene and where should we intervene in terms of the obesity management?
Very good question, and the answer is as early as possible. The problem is that we don't recognize obesity as a disease. We think obesity is just a shape, or just it's something to do with somebody's laziness or somebody's excess intake of food or careless behavior. But actually, it is a very important disease. Not only it is just a disease, it is possibly the mother of all important diseases of adult life. So obesity is not just increase in weight. Unfortunately, we don't measure this as an increase in fat. We don't have very easy methods to measure body fat, so we measure this by weight. But obesity is actually abnormal excess accumulation of fat in body. And if you have excess deposition of fat in body, what happens is beyond certain point, this fat gets spilling into the abnormal areas and gets deposited into different organs. And what we call is the ectopic locations, or the abnormal locations where there is normally no fat. Once it is deposited there, it leads to dysfunction of those organs. So fat tissue is not just a storage tissue for excess calories in body. In fact, it is possibly one of the largest endocrine organs in the body, which is secreting almost 200 endocrine substances or peptides, or vasoactive peptides we say, or free fatty acids and so on. And these lead to inflammation, these lead to changes in the blood vessels, these lead to abnormalities of different organs, ultimately lead to a dysmetabolic state and also lead to some increase in risk of cancers. So there are multiple things which are related to increase in adiposity or increase abnormal excess of fat in body. Now the unfortunate part is we think obesity is just another situation where person is lazy or eating more, but actually this needs to be recognized as a disease. This needs to be recognized as mother of all important diseases of adult life, and this needs to be treated like a disease, like we treat diabetes, like we treat high blood pressure, like we treat heart disease. We need to treat obesity. Now people, when they get obesity, they think that going to gym will help, going to a dietitian will help, but obesity needs comprehensive treatment. It needs involvement of a physician, nutritionist, behavior therapist, exercise physiologist, and so on. And it is not to be neglected. If you want to stay healthy, you should focus on obesity as an important disease, and the minute you recognize this, you should look for treatment for obesity. Now another important thing is, how do we recognize at layperson level? Well, simple thing is, look at the mirror, or somebody tells you you're becoming fat, you should take serious note of it. Second thing is, simply take out an inch tape, measure your waist. If you're a man, if your waist is more than 90 centimeters, you are overweight or obese. If you are woman, you have waist circumference more than 80 centimeters, you are likely to be overweight or obese. Consult your treating physician and make sure that you don't neglect obesity.
That's a very interesting point. I was reading somewhere obesity seems like a new norm now. And my question was that, do you see that the more young children are getting more obese, and what kind of prevalence you see happening back home in India? Like, what's the prevalence and the incidence of being obese in young children?
So, you said that obesity appears to be a new norm. I think the word would be abnorm.
No, absolutely right.
It is, we are seeing so many abnormal, people that we think everything that is normal. So when you see too many abnormal pictures, you think this is the normal picture.
Yeah,
and this is what is happening. So I don't know the exact figure in terms of the childhood obesity, but I can tell you the prevalence of obesity in adults is very high. We have a recent publication in Lancet, I think September last year, which showed that almost 30% of the adults in India have generalized obesity, and 40% of the adults have central or abdominal obesity. And if you look at the rural-urban differences, in urban population, 50% of the people have generalized obesity, and almost 60% have central obesity, which is even worse. So it is very high now.
And one last question, what's your intervention strategy to manage obesity?
So it has to be, population-based measures that have to come in. And the first thing is the awareness, the education about obesity, the recognition of obesity as a disease.
Yep.
Unless we recognize obesity as a disease, we do nothing for it.
Absolutely.
So we have to take note of obesity as a serious health challenge and tackle it accordingly.
Finally, I'd like to thank Dr. Makkar for being here. We're absolutely delighted to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for attending World Congress of Cardiometabolic Medicine. Thanks.
Thank you.
Insights from the world's best medical minds. You are watching TheRightDoctors.com.